Should you be using a 4 iron, a 4 hybrid, or a 7 wood? Let's go hit them all and find out. So today I've got 3 different clubs to test out for that part of the bag where you're deciding if you're going to move out of your irons into something different. And I think this part of the bag's really important and kind of overlooked, because actually having versatility and something that's maybe a little bit easier to hit in this section of the bag can just make long games so much easier. If we look at how far the average club golfer is hitting the golf ball and how long golf courses that we play generally are, we know a big percentage of golfers are still going to be having hybrids and woods into the green. So making the right decision at this top of the bag is really important. So I've got 3 clubs for us to test today. I've got the Ping G440 4 iron. So this is the iron that comes at the top of their set. And if you bought into their kind of game improvement range, this is what you'd get at the top of your iron set. This has 19 degrees of loft. Next we've got the Ping G440 4 hybrid. Although this sits in the same part of the bag, this is actually 23 degrees in terms of the static loft. Then last up we've got the Ping G440 Max 7 wood. Again, static loft slightly different, 21 here, but what we need to remember is with all these clubs, you can see the shape and sizing is very different. So where most of the weight sits, where the centre of gravity is going to be different in each of these. So though they've all got different static lofts, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll perform in a certain way. Now there's a few things we'd typically say about these setups. You'd probably say the 4 iron is going to go the lowest, kind of be the hardest to fly. The 7 one's maybe going to be the highest and be the easiest to hit, but let's see if that's actually the case. I'm going to hit a few balls with each on SkyTrack Plus, talk about what I feel in terms of the differences, also look at the data, and see what the right club in this setup is for me, but also what different options are and what might work for different golfers. First up, let's go 4 iron. I would say this is the club in this gap in the bag that I've probably gamed the least over my lifetime as a golfer, just because I kind of always thought they were for like really high club head speed players and I should have something easier in that section of the bag. But actually I have enjoyed having a 4 iron in recently. I think one thing, it's very good as a tee option if you're someone who you struggle with a bit of a big miss sometimes, or you have certain holes on your golf course that are quite tight, because I feel like you can kind of get trappy and always hit like a low one that runs out if you don't really feel like going after it. So it can be a really good option for that. Also, if you're somewhere where you play like a lot of links golf and you can hit something that releases and runs out a long way. Now the big thing with this is making sure that it becomes a versatile club. You don't want it to be a club that you can only hit low and only hit one shot with. So it's important to look at the height, the control, the descent angle you can get with this and see if you could use it into a green as well as off the tee. We're actually on the second hole at Captapira Golf Club out in Mallorca. Absolutely stunning and much warmer than England, which I'm enjoying. It said it's 160 metres to the green. It's a bit downhill. Hopefully we don't go too long with this, because I don't think I'll find my golf balls if we go over this green. Okay, so obviously over the ball, this looks like an iron because it is an iron, but it's going to have more offset than the wood options that we're going to see in a minute. It's obviously a lot longer, like toe to heel too. Now I've also got different shafts in these. I've got set up what I would have if these were in my bag. So this is a Modus and it's a 105 stiff. That's going to be the heaviest of the options I've got here. I said I would use this because it was the straightest and then pushed it so far right, but the strike was real nice. So as a benchmark, that carried 184 yards, which I would say would be like exactly what I would want out of a 4 iron. Generally when I'm looking at a 4 iron at the moment, it's carrying like 185 on average, so that's bang on. Launch angle good in the green, 15 degrees. Spin fractionally low, 3,812, but to be honest, I think that's pretty good out of a 4 iron of this kind of construction. Descent angle's 37, so perhaps a tad on the lower side, and 22 yards of max height. That was all from 86 club head speed and 122 ball speed, and a smash factor of 1.42, which I think is pretty good. Let's see if I can hit the green with this one. Looks like it's going in the hole. Oh. So that's carried 190, which went a long way. Again, launch angle pretty good, 16 degrees. Spin almost identical, 3,819. Descent angle 39, so a tad higher. And the max height was also 24, so a tad higher. I think those are all pretty good numbers for what I would get out of a 4 iron. The smash factor was 1.45. That was from 86 club head speed, 124 ball speed. Like, I actually don't think I can get better than that with a 4-iron, so I think we should just move on to the hybrid at this point. While you're here, I would really appreciate if you could hit that subscribe button. I know I bang on about it all the time, but it really does help in terms of the content, what equipment I can get to review, and the places I get to go to. And all that means is better videos for you, so it's really in your best interest. I promise. So please hit that subscribe button, and while you're there, you might as well drop this video a like or drop us a comment about what else you want to see on the channel. Now, I love how this year's ping hybrids sit behind the golf ball. To be honest, I've always been a lover of ping hybrids. Like, historically, I've used these a lot in my bag. At one point, I had a 4, a 3 and a 2 hybrid in my bag, so I'm definitely a bit of a hybrid lover. But I really like the fact these are quite rounded and they look pretty small behind the golf ball, so they're very compact, and I think for players who maybe are a bit cautious of moving into a wood, this can be a good option because it doesn't look too much bigger than an iron. Now, there looks like there is a lot of loft on this club. So I'm interested to see what the data is like in terms of the flight, the height, and the descent angle of this. God, that went so high. Also, am I just like aiming really far right here? To be fair, I have been trying to weaken my grip. So maybe that's why I'm hitting a bit right, but the change in height there was insane. So that carried 183 yards. The launch was up straight away 18 degrees. The spin was up 4,227, so we got about 500 more RPM spin there. And straight away the descent angle is up and back into the green. SkyTrack Plus, which I'm using for my numbers, like colour codes my spin, my descent angle and my launch. And it seems a little bit happier with the numbers here. So that 43 descent angle just means the ball is going to come down steeper and stop on the green softer, which is obviously really important for controlling approach shots. The max height was 28, so 6 yards higher than the lowest shot I hit with the 4-iron. And that was from 83 club head speed and 121 ball speed. So the ball speed wasn't necessarily faster, but we just got kind of more height and control. Oh, that's such a strong ball flight. Visually, I do prefer the look of that. So I was carried 187 yards for a 203 total. The launch angle was 15, the spin was 4,468, so quite a bit higher. SkyTrack's kind of telling me that's almost a bit too high. 41 descent angle, so again in the green, 24 max height, 1.48 smash factor, and that's from 85 club head speed, 126 ball speed. So you can see in terms of distance, these were pretty similar between the 4-iron and the 4 hybrid. The biggest thing that's changed is my height's come up a little bit, my spin's come up a little bit, and that's just giving me a steeper descent angle. It's all going to give me a little bit more control. So if you're someone whose ball flight's maybe a little bit on the lower side, you're struggling to stop the ball on the green, maybe it's worth looking at hybrids in those longer clubs just to help you out. I feel like this could happen even more now when we move to the 7-wood. So let's see if it does. Okay, in terms of visuals, this is obviously the biggest footprint. I think, again, a bit like the 4 hybrid, it looks like it has a lot of loft. Now, this one is 21, so it sits in the middle of the other two. So it'll be interesting to see what that does in terms of distance. Now, generally, the benefit of this is it's got such a big head, we can have more weight on the perimeter, so it can be more forgiving. I mean, I just feel like that's launched the highest out of them all, which does make sense given kind of the centre of gravity and where it would be placed. Okay, so that's carried 193 yards. So despite the ridiculously high ball flight, or what looked to be really high, it's still gone the furthest of all the shots I've hit so far, which I think is interesting and teaches you that fact that, like, it's not just if it goes high, it's going to go shorter. Actually, that extra height's giving you more hang time, allows the ball to keep going in the air for longer, gives you a longer carry distance. So I think the fact that this has gone higher, 36 yards in terms of height and 21 launch angle, has helped with that extra carry, but also the club head speed's jumped up to 88. We had 128 ball speed, 4,208 spin, so I'm glad that number still stayed up even though the ball speed's gone up. 49 descent angle, that is crazy steep. If you need to stop the ball quick on a firm green, that's going to do the trick. I've definitely got this thing not lined up straight, by the way, because my shots, they're going straight over the pin. It's saying I like miles left. Okay, slight push there, not my best strike. I think that's good to keep that in because we've had that with the other clubs too. That was 18 launch, 5,220 spin, 47 descent angle, 189 carry, which is still really good. And that's for a 204 total. That was actually 89 mile/h club head speed. That was quick for 127 ball speed, max height 33. Just didn't go quite as far as my other one because I left the face a little bit open. That's gone miles. Because that's pitched over the back of the green. Despite that having a max height of 34 yards, which is literally insane. If you think back to the fact we were getting 22 with the 4-iron, it's up another 12 yards. That's 36 feet. That's like a big green in height. So that was 19 launch angle, which is arguably too high, 4,515 spin, which I think is really good, and 48 descent angle, which is going to give you some serious stopping power. That was from 88 clubhead speed and 129 ball speed. Now, if we're wondering why the clubhead speed's gone up, I mean, look at the difference in shaft length there. It's probably like 1.5 inches longer, so it's definitely going to help out. I think the thing is you can probably get away with a longer shaft in this because there's so much more forgiveness in the head because of the size of it. And we can see that's driven my clubhead speed up like 2-3 miles an hour. Now, overall, what I'd say here is like this is going to be a little bit golf course dependent for me. If I'm going to play some like windy links golf, there's just no way I'm going to control it at that height. It's just going to be doing whatever the elements want it to do. However, if I'm playing somewhere sunny on a nice day, if I was playing a lot in America, Dubai, place where you've got to hit the ball high and be able to stop it on quick greens, it's like a no-brainer to use that sort of club. And also I think you have to pair that back to the type of golfer you are. Like I can generally hit a decent height shot, but actually if you're someone who hits it low and knows you struggle with that, you struggle to get the height to keep the carry over things like front bunkers, this is just perfect and you really should be looking at this as an option instead of a hybrid or a long iron. Now, I think if you were looking at this in terms of kind of consistency and the right numbers, you would probably fit me into the hybrid. It was probably where the numbers were nearest to optimal, and it was pretty consistent too. Although I personally feel the 7-wood was a lot more forgiving, and I loved the consistency and the powerfulness of those really good shots. I just thought that was so good. Interestingly, the dispersion kind of moved from right to left as well. I was definitely way more right biased with the iron, which I'd say would make sense. Generally, like hybrids and woods, there's a bit more ability to move the weight around, make them a little more draw biased. So that's also something to bear in mind when you're picking between these clubs. But actually, I just think this is so golf course dependent, and I think having different options if you're someone who plays at different golf courses and in different countries and in different environments, a lot like I do, is important. However, if you're someone who plays at one course most of the time, you have a home course and that's where you're doing your competitions and most of your scores, I think you almost have to pair this one with your golf swing, your characteristics and what you need, be that be more height, more speed, more spin, but also pair with that what your golf course demands of you. Like it's no good you putting a 7-wood in play because you love the fact it goes really high and it spin loads if you play at a links golf course. I, however, know there's some holes on my golf course where there's quite severe dog legs and you have to be able to launch the ball over trees, even for some of the tee shots, and actually drivers too much, and I need something that's going to pop up high. And in that scenario, this 7 would be really great, even though the numbers aren't necessarily perfectly optimal. So it's not always about the numbers being perfect, it's about providing what you need for your game. Drop us a note in the comments and let me know which one you think would perform best for you or what you'd like to test out, something maybe that you've not tried and thinks could work for your game.